The MapRight interactive map to take a look at tract 17, here kind of toward the center of the video, I guess. It's about 10 acres in size, has about 330 feet of direct frontage on County Road 66 along its entire north side, and then from there it goes southerly for about a quarter mile, or about 1,320 feet. This is, as we mentioned, tract 17 within the Mule Shoe Project. There are a total of only about 18 tracts out here. In fact, there are 18 tracts. So very small private rural development. The Mule Shoe Conservation Area is only about half-mile away. So, I mean, you can be there in a minute, and it offers you about 2,000 acres of additional land, public land, that can be used generally for hunting. They've got some campsites you can use for free. Miles of trails, and over a mile of direct frontage on the Little Niangua River, which is a very beautiful river, clear river that's generally really nice for swimming, for one thing, because it's so clear, and also for fishing, kayaking, canoeing, all that good stuff. It flows northeasterly for about 10 or 15 miles and actually creates part of Lake of the Ozarks. So yeah, really cool property. Private, you can have your own private acreage, is where we were going with that. You can have your own private acreage and still have access into a couple thousand acres of additional land, which can make your hunting and your exploring pretty interesting. This is one of the tracts that does have, in addition to the direct county road frontage, it does have direct access to a power line, which crosses literally right over the property on the north side. We've got the approximate location with the yellow dashed line here. So whether or not you plan to use power, it's generally considered a pretty nice bonus to have it on your property, especially a rural property where a lot of rural properties, power may not be in the immediate area. It could be, anywhere from a mile to 2 or 3 to 5 miles away. And obviously, if you're looking for a place that you want to build a home other than an off-grid type home, then you're going to need power eventually. So having it on site is pretty awesome. The property itself is essentially entirely wooded. It may have a few small natural clearings or small trails, but from what we're seeing on the aerial map, it's just a nicely wooded property. This is a wintertime aerial. This is a Google base map. MapRight, you can kind of switch the base maps, and this one we're using the Google map. The wintertime aerial is nice because it makes it easy for us to differentiate between the hardwood trees, which don't have their leaves in the winter, obviously, and the, is it deciduous? The coniferous trees? Wanted to say carnivorous. Let's just say the evergreens. Between the hardwoods and the evergreens. And in this case, what we're seeing, this looks like just about all hardwood, other than we do have kind of a cool mixture of probably cedar trees that are mixed throughout. There's going to be the darker green spots. So if we look over to these tracts to the west, let's say tract 12, 13, and 14. Oh, those are mixed up. 12, 14, 13. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, these tracts you can see predominantly cedar trees. But in this case, tract 17 predominantly hardwood trees. So you're gonna have red oak, white oak, hickory. I mean, the guys have seen so many different species out here: black walnut, pecan trees, persimmon. They keep saying they see persimmons, and I guess if you're into deer hunting in the area, you know that the deer love to come and eat the persimmon fruit. I'm not sure if persimmon is a hardwood tree, but I mean, there's just a lot of trees out here. Good mixture of timber, I guess you could say. So excellent access to the property on the county road. Nice, very, very nice having electric on site, and of course being close to the conservation area. We'll switch over to a topo map in a moment, and you'll be able to get an idea how this property lays. Essentially, it's going to slope down as you move away from the county road. We're going to have a valley area several hundred feet back. It'll rise back up and level off, and then actually there's another valley area toward the very south end. So I mean, you've got a lot of ground to cover in a quarter mile, and somehow 2 valleys fit into that quarter mile. So let's go to the topo map, take a look at that. There we go. We have an advantage with topo maps because not only do we work with them every single day, but most of us have seen this property in person. So this map makes perfect sense to us. If you're not familiar with topos, and if you haven't been to the area, this might not make as much sense, but essentially what it's showing us is, like we said earlier, from the county road going southerly, we're sloping down. On a topo map, the thing you want to keep in mind is the lines are called contour lines, and they're showing an elevation change. So in this case, the elevation change between 2 contour lines is about 10 feet. So essentially, when the lines are close, you've got more steepness. When they're further apart, you've got more flatness. So in this case, as we move south from the county road, if you look at the spacing here between these lines, that's indicating a pretty level area. And then as we get a little further in, you can see where the lines get closer. That's as we're getting into the bottom of this little kind of miniature valley. So we do that. This is going to be the bottom of the valley. It's probably actually a wet weather creek bed there. They're seldom shown on topo maps, but probably that would be the case. And then continuing southerly, it's rising up again. And then you've got kind of this really cool, looks like a level ridge area, which is to the south of the center of the property. Continuing south from there, it's going to slope down again, and you've got that second valley. So a lot of different stuff going on this tract. That's kind of cool to see. By the way, the dark lines, there's nothing unique about the dark lines. On this map, every 5th line is a darkened line. And then if you zoom way out, it makes it easy to kind of get the elevation change without having to count every single line. So if we zoom out a little, we can see, okay, so that's 950. So this particular darkened line on the property, that's the 900-foot elevation line. And so that's technically 900 feet above sea level is what that darkened line is indicating. So if we wanted to see the ranges on this property, we could count down from there. So 890, 880. So that the lowest point would be about 880 feet above sea level. And then the highest point on the property would be either at the county road or possibly this ridge over here, which would be about 920 feet above sea level, if our math is accurate. Take a look at the drone video. Of the 2 valleys on the property, this one is probably more valley-ish. It's going to be steeper, but everybody has their own idea of what's steep. I mean, we probably wouldn't call this valley steep, but there are certainly folks who would. But just looking at this and stacking this up with a majority of what we've seen in the Ozarks, this looks like really usable land. In fact, if you look just to the east, a few hundred yards from the property, if you look up here, I don't know if you can see the little cursor moving around there, we're getting into a lot of what we're used to in the Ozarks, and that's going to have some steepness to it. That's, dropping 50 or 100 feet within a very short distance. And going back to this property, to tract 17, it's actually kind of these 2 little valleys on tract 17 are sort of the beginning of this much larger valley, which goes to the east potentially for miles. Whoops. There we go. So let's go back to a Google map. I don't recall if we mentioned it, but this MapRight interactive map, you'll see a very similar map within the listing page for this property. It might not show tract 17 as differentiated from the other tracks. It just might show all 18 tracks, but you can still do what we're doing here as far as zooming in, zooming out, changing the base map and all that good stuff. So we'll just zoom out a little more. And there we go. So as we look over to the lower left here, that's the Mule Shoe Conservation Area. So very nearby. From tract 17, you would just go west on County Road 66 for about half a mile, then cut south on County Road 525 for about a quarter mile, and you're at the conservation area. So the best access points are a little further south on this county road. So you just follow 525 down to County Road 96, and the shaded area is the conservation area. So I mean, it's huge. There's actually over 2,800 acres in the Mule Shoe Conservation Area. It's in essentially 2 large sections and then a couple very small sections. And this is the larger of the 2 large sections. Whoops. Well, there you go. Mule Shoe Conservation Area. So if we zoom out a little more, you can see up to the north, the other large section. But yeah, this section that is closest to the property is by far the largest part of the conservation area. You can see the Little Niangua River, which, as we mentioned earlier, is gorgeous. It's a very clear river. Just if you've never hunted for arrowheads, the Little Niangua is a nice place to do it. Essentially, all you do is kind of walk up and down the riverbank and look closely at the gravel, and with a little luck, you can find arrowheads, and it's really cool. So don't forget to do that when you're visiting the area. But there we go. Oh, don't know what happened to our arrows. Oops. Oh well. So yeah, tract 17, gorgeous property. You could easily add value to this if you were to create some kind of driveway leading back to a building site. Oops. Meantime, if you come up here and you want to camp, immediately, you do have the Mule Shoe Conservation Area, which has some campsites. So you can go to the Missouri Department of Conservation website to kind of check the specifics on that, or you could potentially just Google Mule Shoe Conservation Area, and that'll pop up. But yeah, nice tract. Seldom do we have properties that have county road frontage and electric. And you can just stack the kind of the cool things about this property, even beyond that. The county road frontage, the electric on site, the beautiful mix of timber, the rolling terrain that doesn't have any kind of extreme steepness from what we could see, and then obviously the location. So less than a mile from the conservation area, a mile of access to the Little Niangua River is right there as well. We're close to the Lake of the Ozarks. We're close to Camdenton, Missouri, and we're still only about hour and a half north of Springfield, Missouri, which is the largest city in southern Missouri by far. So you can fly into Springfield and rent a car at the airport and be at your property in hour and a half, 2 hours from when you're, well, a couple hours from when your plane lands, because you gotta walk to the parking lot, I guess. But the Springfield airport's great. You can maneuver through that bad boy in just a few minutes. So anyway, tract 17, if you have any questions on this, just let us know. Be sure to check out the ground video and the drone video if you haven't already seen them. But looking like a gorgeous property here.